question, but I don't know if love has stages in the sense that when we talk about passion, passion is not exactly love, but it's part of the process of loving.
From the moment you wake up.
Stephanie.
I hear the birds. I open the windows and I smell the air. I listen to see if my sons are home. I listen to them. All these things manifest love.
There are all these loving processes that transform with age. Let's say that, when you're super young and you're starting to date, there's that kind of love that you feel you're suffocating, that you can't breathe. Then there's the passion for the other person, where everything is just colorful and everything is just so intense. Later in life, love becomes comfort. It becomes routine. When I say routine, it's a good routine. It's a pleasurable routine where you go for walks or you have breakfast together or you have dinner you plan.
I go out at night. I really do. I'm not just saying this because you're interviewing me right now. When I go to let the dog out at night, I lay in the lounge chair and I look up at the stars and gosh, I love it. And it makes me feel so many things. I think that's love.
Jimmy Jones, 48, educator, Freeport, New York.
My showing of love has always been just unfettered giving.
The moments where I'm like, this is a profound,
Danielle, female, 27.
kind of like performance of love, would be from my family.
They do like everything for the family.
Sky, 26 years old, student.
The family's going to Hershey Park this weekend. Both my grandma and my grandpa are going to be there, even though they're divorced. So I feel like it kind of shows, even if you're not in love with somebody, you can still have that love there and do things for the sake of your family and the people around you. So that's a beautiful thing.
If I think a person needs advice, I'm willing to give advice.
I've definitely grown up around a lot of kind of toxic relationships, and the only good thing about that is it can teach you what you don't want to do and how to be on your own path.
If I think a person needs help, I'll drop everything to help that person.
Like sacrifices that they make for me in order for me to do what I want, for me to go to school where I want, for me to have the life I have,
And of late, having daughters and being married, and just kind of seeing the change in the world.
Like, my dad's been married to my stepmom forever. Like, she's been in my life since I was 2, and they're super, super in love.
I've become more of a expressive, affectionate person than I probably 15 years ago.
27 years old, and my parents are letting me live rent-free in their house right now. And it's a sacrifice for them because it's another mouth that they have to pay for. And they don't ask for anything in return because I'm their kid. They love me.
My parents were kind of like I said, we have a house, we have things that we need. You ask for something, I give it to you. That's how I show that I love you.
But also, love is a complicated thing, and sometimes makes you blind and you make stupid decisions.
But at the core of it, I feel like one of the most profound things is constantly doing something to that extent where it actually could be really stressful for you. It's a sacrifice, and it's love to me.
Michaela, 27 years old, female.
So, my day to day, I do what I do for a living because I love it. I love working with people. I love being able to make an impact in people's lives.
Just trying to be there.
Robin, Queer Columbia, New York.
Check in. And not make it about me, Make it about what does this person need? And again, that same, how can I make your life better? How can I help? How can I be a part of making your life better? I love to be on this journey with you. I always say that to people. I want to be on this journey with you. You have a problem? Let's do it together. You need to go to a doctor's appointment? Let me come with you.
Let's say, you know, when I wake up, for example, my love for coffee. Like, I'm always excited, like, oh my God, yes, like, I love coffee so much. This is my moment. Hazelnut flavor. You know, just all the process of making the coffee is pleasurable to me. And when you do it for somebody else, like I do for my partner, it's also an act of love. You're there experimenting with the amount of the coffee, the amount of honey you're putting. In autumn time, you start playing with cinnamon, and so it's. I think when you love someone or when you love an animal, your actions reflect the love that you have for them.
Doing things that you don't necessarily want to do because you want to make your partner happy. That's something we do a lot. Something my partner does for me. He's very attentive to how I'm feeling and what I need, and he'll sometimes protect the things that I need and want before I even do, and just kind of being aware of the person that you're with, you know, sometimes more than they're aware of themselves.
I think I said before, by like caring about someone more than you care about yourself. I have all of my love and relationships. I put others before me.
Plural, female, 58.
I think definitely with my husband, it's been a partnership. Everything is a partnership, like we work together, we're a team.
What does this person need? What I need right now isn't important. How can I be more helpful to you? What can I do to help you? I think that's important in any loving relationship.
You know, and if I can't get to something he does, and if he can't get to something I do, and so we pick up after each other, and we just, you know, it's just part of, you know, being together, and, you know, there's no, like, white line or anything, you know, you do this, and I do that, no. Whoever gets to it, and we help each other and work together as a team. It's part of, you know, the partnership of being married and the love for one another that we have.
Sometimes it's just listening. Sometimes it's just no words are needed. Sometimes love is simply being with someone when they're sad. Simply being present.
So it definitely has changed. You know, it was kind of, you know, bare necessities. If I was taken care of and I knew that people showed an interest, that was love. More recently, it's definitely become people sort of matching my energy and the physical and visual signs of support and affection. So again, you know, wasn't a big hugger, became one. The day-to-day just someone saying it because again, you know, 15 years ago you were the guy's guy and you know, it was okay for your girlfriend or wife to say she loved you and you kind of said it begrudgingly. Now it's okay to say it first. And it's okay to physically show it in public where it wasn't always the case.
I think
Berkeley Rousseau, 31-year-old white male.
for my grandparents, it was definitely like marriage was a thing to do. You get married, you have kids, you start a family. That's what it is, period, end of story. It was almost, love at that time was almost transactional.
In which they.
Sean Lisa, 54 female social worker.
Like, it was, you had to do it in life.
I mean, maybe there was some butterflies, but I don't know if it was to the extent of what I might experience now, where it was more so purposeful, transactional. I think my mom probably, you know, started to, like that generation, my mom, my aunt, I think they're probably a little freer.
It started to change. We see the shift during their life where we're more open to love between different types of people.
You know, well, actually, my grandmother was born here, and then my mom and them were not, so they're second generation. So I think they were more stimulated, and they were able to just kind of be like, oh my God, he's so cute, you know, or, you know, and so they could just fall in love with whoever they wanted. It didn't have to necessarily be part of the culture, you know, but it was more so the attraction. And then I think my generation took it to a whole nother level. We just love whoever.
And I see, even as I talk to them now, I've seen how they've changed where
it was like love between, like they would say, I love you to each other. They'd say to us, they'd say to family, but now I see them say it to my friends, which is so funny.
You know, and our families just have to deal with it.
And growing up, it was always I love to everybody, all my friends, my family, we all loved each other.
And the reins were let up a little bit with my mom, and then me, free, and my children forget about it. I don't even understand it anymore.
That's a good question. I think love, by definition, has changed to some degree by the introduction of social media. And I'll tell you why.
Me and my mom actually were just talking about this the other day. She was talking about how, every Friday and Saturday night, she was going out dancing with her and her girls. Going out. That's how that's how you met people. It's how you talk to someone. Now, a man can stare at me from across the bar for 45 minutes and then not approach me. And then I go home. And then on Hinge later, I'm getting ignored by another guy. It's a lot of nonsense. Whereas, there's good bad though in the way that I think our parents and our grandparents, because there was a whole lot of it was based and rooted in the man, doing man things, and the woman kind of letting it happen, rather than a lot of autonomy.
Love, when I fell in love, there wasn't social media. There wasn't anything. We had, we had cell phones, but Facebook and everything wasn't very popular back then. There wasn't even Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. All of those things came after, at least as far as I know. I wasn't aware of them at the time, but I think social media has, to some degree, denigrated the feelings of love for that person by virtue of virtual contact, text messaging, the art of communication, as I grew up with, is slowly degrading, slowly disappearing because of social media.
So it's the courting, it's the asking your dad for permission, it's the kind of this person could be good for life and marriage and children and stuff like that, where I think there's such a more ideal set on just living right now.
You look at today, there's relationships that are virtual, and now we have AI. There are actually AI people that you can talk to, and it's going to happen. But I feel that people that are lonely, by definition, are going to wind up falling in love with some fake AI person that's been trained to communicate. So, is that true love? No. But are people going to feel that in their hearts because maybe they don't have loving relationships in their life? Yeah. And social media has done that. And virtual relationships are just simply not the same. Our communication through social media and through text messaging today is not, a lot of true feelings get lost in the translation. I am talking to you face to face now, even though we're doing it over Zoom. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. If we were in person, it might even be different. It might be something, especially if you have a relationship with someone. This is good.
Well, I have to say, my generation was, I think, one of the first where it became important for us to realize that we have to love ourselves first to be able to love others. I don't think my parents ever heard that, or my grandparents ever heard that.
My grandmother got married at 14.
Jazz, 32, female, graphic designer.
And that kind of breaks my heart to say. weekend at 32. And I think I had more options, right? I think I had the chance to get an education, to live my life a little bit, and finish growing up, which then informed the kind of person I decided to marry.
You have no idea, now at your age, how important it is as you get older. What I'm talking to you about now, it may just be a project for you, but it could be that change in not just your life, but in the people in your generation.
Also, what was your question again? My what of love, my definition of love, did you say? Well, I think that starting with my generation and going to my sons who are 25 and then to your generation, I think the definition of love is broader. Broader, yeah. We feel more freedom to love across the board without any judgment. My parents and grandparents didn't live in a world like that.
Just that I think things in general are hard right now, but I think I just look at the younger generations, and I have so much hope for just the way that they've learned about different types of people and different types of love and how they have different types of people in their lives, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I think as far as love goes, find it where you can and celebrate it, you know?
I just think that just for future, I guess when you're young, you kind of see things like with social media and like, you see people getting engaged and married.
You're always posting them, or a lot of people do. And my experience has been kind of a bit of opposite from that, where my boyfriend, partner, doesn't use social media at all, and has never posted. And I think that, though he is a couple years older than me, like, I guess it could be because of, like, our generations, even slightly. Being a few years older, there's that kind of difference, I guess. But also with that, like, not trying to let myself down or get down when he's not posting. And, like, I have my friends' boyfriends who are posting their significant other. I think that there just feels like there's all these standards all the time to post. And at first it was kind of difficult for me to wrap my head around. Why isn't he posting me? But yeah, just learning to not really take that personally and just understanding that everyone has their kind of own ways of using social media and choosing what they post and what they want to make public to the world versus what they don't. And yeah, just adapting with those times.
I think finding the right person that you're going to be with and trust and, honesty and build a relationship with, I think that's the main thing that you have to work at. I wouldn't even get too caught up in not having a boyfriend or having a boyfriend, it just isn't, it will come. Everything comes when, there's a time and a place.
I think my first relationship, now we're talking about like romantic love. My first relationship I ever had, it was experimental for both of us. Like we neither one of us knew what we were doing. We were freshmen in high school, and it's weird. It's hard to call it love looking back on it now because it's not. It's young love, and young love is always a little silly. And I sort of left my friend group to hang out with her all the time.
I think, again, that idea of like my grandparents, my parents, always having these, then again, very specifically heteronormative love structures. I think when I was growing up, when I first started hearing about gay people in general, it felt like it just happened that day. Like gay people just started coming out that day.
But I do think that the ways we choose to show it and the opportunities we have are a lot different. you know, I will add this. As a kid, I looked at a lot of the TV shows to kind of say what I thought was, I was a sitcom kid.
And in school, I was never with my old friends. And then when we broke up, all of the friends I had made in her friend group, they left. They all like shunned me, basically. So I went back to my old friends, but I would never let that happen. I would never leave a group of friends anymore.
It just felt like there was a very specific bracket I had to step into, and if I didn't step into that bracket, then I had no place to be.
So now that sitcoms aren't really the thing anymore, and I'm older, kind of experience your own relationships, you start to see kind of the TV part versus what you can actually do, the realities of things.
For somebody that I supposedly loved. But I would invite them in to be part of the friend group.
Yeah, I think just generally speaking, like my takeaway from the last 27 years is that you'll kind of experience love in many different ways and different experiences. Relationships, whether that be like romantically or friendships or whatever, but
It was a loving relationship. I was in this relationship for a few years. I was young, but when we broke up, like I was still young, but like I was I was 23. It was like my early 20s and my late teens that are supposed to be a lot of fun and learn about myself and stuff like that. And it really showed me how I do not want to be loved.
for example, if you're no longer friends with your best friend growing up, because people change and grow, like that's fine. Or if your high school boyfriend like cheated on you, it's fine. He was growing. It was all he knew at the time. So yeah, just kind of being accepting, I think, and learning to accept has also helped.
And it changed me because it made me, like, everything I learned was a lesson. It was incredible, and like now I was able to then go into what actually felt like true love, which was my friendships. Like, I moved in with one of my best friends that I hadn't talked to in so long because of this relationship, and none of these people judged me for it. Like, it was unconditional. It was support. It was, hey, I know you lost your way for a little bit, but like I've always loved you and I've always supported you, and like I'm not judging you now that things have gone bad and we're friends again. That's not what this is to me, and those I think are just really incredible.
Before I got married, I dated different guys. I thought it was love.
I knew it wasn't right. I knew this relationship wasn't right for me. I felt it in my body. Like, I physically, feel anxious.
It sucked the soul out of me. Like, totally, I lost so much weight. I wasn't seeing any of my friends. I was just kind of like a shell of a person. And because of that, I was super hesitant to let anybody else back in my life after that relationship.
But obviously I didn't marry that person.
And all of these things all of a sudden stopped happening when I was out of this relationship. And it made me physically realize, I was like, oh, my body is physically rejecting this.
They kind of say, you shouldn't, go and looking for relationships unless you have a comfortable relationship with yourself.
And it's like, it really is listening to yourself and listening to other people, like their concerns, and they're not really liking this person sometimes.
But I think it gave me an awareness of what really, at the time, I thought love was one thing. And I guess after we broke up, I realized that wasn't love. What I have with my husband is love.
Because it's like, oh, I picked this person, so your judgment is a reflection on me, and you're judging me, so therefore you start putting this person on a pedestal, but you're not on the pedestal with them. You're putting him on his pedestal so they look better to the people in your life, but in the meantime, you're putting yourself lower and lower and lower below them, and but it's inevitable, because you're digging your heels in, and that is something I will never do again.
Exactly. Male, mid-30s.
Negative experience with love and how I deal with it differently today. I truly don't feel that any experience with love is negative. I think and you're very young, 17, 16, you're a kid. And I think it's important to hear this as well, that no matter, you're gonna love a lot of people in your life. As I just told you, anytime you get to experience love, I think, is a moment that shapes you for the better. I don't know if you're a Les Mis fan. One of the last lyrics of the show is that to love another person is to see the face of God. And that lyric always did stick with me. If you are fortunate enough to have the feeling of love towards anyone in your life, I don't think that's negative at all. Love, especially romantic love, doesn't always go the way you want it to.
Love ends, for example. And why would it end? It would end because maybe the actions of the other person are not showing to the other that, you know, there's love in that relationship, and love might become an obsession, especially when it's not reciprocated. In this instance, it can, you know, can be deadly in many ways, in many situations. And I think that's the dark side of the emotion of love, because, you know, I had situations where I fell in love with people, and some you know, it wasn't reciprocated. Others I never told, so I suffered in silence. And when love becomes a weapon, in the sense that people use it in order to do things that they believe to be right and aren't, because they. So there's a dark side to it, like a light and day, dark and light and day, dark and light. So I think love can also be a weapon, of course.
Not every day is great. Not every day is wonderful. But to even say that I experience love on a daily basis, I find myself very fortunate. Because even experiencing that feeling of love just once is more times than most people get to in their entire lives.
For me, the most negative experience I could say with love is that when someone dies.
Okay, I'll give you some different content to work off here. So I lost my grandmother when I was 32 years old, and I think, so my grandmother was my mom's mother, and I was always very close with my grandmother growing up, for many reasons. But after I lost my mom, my grandmother really became my person that I would go to for everything. She was my mom. And we lost her when she was 91 years old in the summer of 2022. And I think losing my mom gave me a greater appreciation for what love is and how to not let someone forget how deeply you love them.
When I was younger, this is familial love, I guess you would say. When I was younger, my grandma moved to Napa from where she was living before when my grandpa passed away.
When my grandmother was very sick, I learned a lot from my mother as to not leave things unsaid and to make every moment count.
When they're gone, it's like there's such a sadness and an emptiness that can happen, you know? And it's like you start to kind of replaying your head.
And when my grandmother was sick, it was over the summer, so worked with my schedule. Not that it was about that, but it did. That I was able to be with her for most hours of the day, and I don't have kids yet, and my wife was very understanding. I would sit at the hospital or the hospice with my grandmother till 11 p.m. at night, to where I was just kicked out, just talking to her. She couldn't speak back to me at the time, but.
And every weekend, probably starting in middle school, I would make it a habit to either walk or ride my bike over to her house.
You know, I wish I had to did more, spent more time, or did more of this? And did they know how much I really loved them?
I find losing my mom let me have those greater moments of closure with my grandmother at the end. Because I realized how precious those moments were, and there are things I would have done differently with my mother, had I had the same wisdom of my adult life.
And I would sit there and we'd share a bowl, or we'd have a bowl of ice cream, and we'd just sit and talk and catch up over the week. And I guess being asked that question, that's the first thing that came to mind. Just that sort of special bond that you have with, especially a grandparent. And then, of course, everything always ended with, I love you, I'll see you later, bye. It was always things like that.
You spent a lot of time, but it was never enough.
So I honestly forgot what your question was. But I know I'm talking about my grandmother and losing her in 2022 and how deeply that affected me. It just gave me a lot of wisdom and life experience from my mother to really show someone how loved they are at the end of their life. And now that I don't have either of them in my life, I truly do think I understand what unconditional love is towards those in your life who unconditionally cared about you.
The heartache with love is, when you lose it, especially through death.
Oh my gosh. How many times have I said that already? One of the most profound moments. I've got a couple, but just thinking about this one can make me cry. I might even choke up now. It's the exact moment that I had my twins.
I love my mom deeply. And when I lost her when I was a little bit older than you, 21 years old, that really affected me deeply. And I didn't really appreciate how much I was loved, and how much I loved my mother back until after she was gone. It was at that point I realized there's probably no one left on this earth who really loved me as deeply as she did and understood me as deeply as she did, and how I reciprocally loved her and understood her like no one else could.
I had them C-section, and the exact moment that they lifted Marty up, he was the firstborn, and showed me his little face. That was love on a whole nother level. That manifestation of love to this day, just thinking about it can make me cry.
And I think losing that mother's love was one of the defining moments of my life. And reflecting on that through my adulthood has really changed the person that I am. Most recently, as silly as it sounds, I celebrated my dog's 17th birthday. We had a full-on day to celebrating my 17-year-old dog. That dog comes from being my mom's dog. I lost my mom when I was 21 years old. And just being able to share the love I had for my mother with something as simple as the dog she had before she passed away.
And then Richie came 1 minute later, and I felt it all over again. So that was pretty big. And another thing was seeing their little heartbeat on the scan, the sonogram.
I think that losing my mom made me think about how I share my love differently. I place a greater value on family, a greater value on those I love and those around me. And I find myself sentimental to the things I can cling to that really demonstrate
You fell in
what
love.
is.
I want to speak quietly, 'cause I don't want it to hear me. But I've been working on my vows, and I think I'll keep this answer a little bit simpler, but maybe I can read you a snippet that I have. And it says, "When you came into my life, I saw reflected in you the man of my dreams, someone deeply kind, endlessly patient, handsome, decisive, and strong, unintimidated by the height of the walls I built around myself. As you became my those walls never could be. That kind of describes how allowing myself to be completely vulnerable with somebody really helped me be myself, unapologetically. And I'll just keep it at that. Keep it short and sweet.
I think love is simple, but complex at the same time. You know, because I think there's that organic love that one would have with being a mother, you know, or a father or a grandparent. You know, somebody that's within your family, not side-eyeing anyone you may not, part of your family that you may not love, but you do naturally because they're your family members. But also, I think that it develops, you know, as we grow older and we start to understand attraction, you know, to other people. You know, then that we then, you know, see someone that for some reason, you know, they give us butterflies in our stomachs, or, you know, we start thinking about them all the time, or, you know, changing our last names into their last names. At least that's what I did as a kid. You know, just thinking, oh my God, if I marry this person, my name would be this. And I think that with that attraction then grows this infatuation, you know, that is like, you can't stop thinking about that person. And then if it winds up, you know, surpassing the infatuation.
I used to think love was something that I would never find. And now I realize it's all around me, and always has been. And I'm very blessed. I struggled with self-image a lot growing up, my self-worth, and a little bit of religious trauma sprinkled in there. You know, I used to think love was something that had to be earned at all times. You always had to be constantly trying to earn it. And maybe if you didn't look a certain way, you know, then automatically that takes you out of the running. But I'm very happy